Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode on this channel. Today, I'm joined by Keith Bessinger, a fellow young conservative from Lancaster, PA, and former chairman of the Montgomery County Young Republicans. Thank you, Keith, for joining me today. I'm really excited for our conversation.
Thank you for having me.
So, I followed you on X for a while. I always enjoyed what you have to say when it comes to voting statistics and registration in Pennsylvania, Republican gossip, and just things of that nature. So, starting with our first question I have for you is just um, going to voter statistics. Republicans are less than 300,000 voters away from flipping PA to a red state. This is very exciting news. A lot of hard work that so many people have done. Of course, last year was a very big historic year with all the big elections going on, including the presidential election and including many dedicated grassroots volunteers such as Scott Pressler, yourself, a lot of county committees, young Republican clubs, and things like that. So just tell me, what you think about all this. What does it say about the future for PA politics, and what is the cause behind all of this?
Well, I mean, if you look at it and go back, you could go back quite a few years on PA's website for voter registration statistics, and pretty much Republicans have never been in this good of position. I don't think that they've ever, as far as they've kept track of voter registration, Republicans have led. So that would be absolutely huge. We obviously, so if you go back to, I would say like 2016, even 2012, you'll see that Republicans were in a lot better position in the Philadelphia suburbs than they are now. But when you compare the Pittsburgh suburbs and the central part of the state, that has just completely erased any single gains that Democrats have made in the suburbs. I mean, you look at, I think, Greene County, for example, Greene, Washington, any of those counties out there. I mean, those were counties that
Yeah.
Clinton won. Now
Mhm.
you couldn't even dream of winning a county like that today as a Democrat. It's almost 80% Republican now. So that swing in those counties have really helped us.
Well, I think a really big thing last year that Republicans focused on was just small demographics, the Amish, hunters, gun owners. Of course, gun owners not really a small demographic, but it's not people you really think of when you come to voting registration. I know that was a very targeted area. Just different small demographics across the state, Hispanic communities, things like that. Who should we really be focusing on now through for 2026 and 2028?
I mean, we still have hunters to go to get
Mm.
registered.
Yeah.
Definitely, I think there's I don't even know the current number, but it's probably close to 100,000 that are still not registered, if I had to take a guess. So we still have to find all them. Um, And I mean, what we're doing, pretty much what we're doing now is we're still trying to like micro target a little bit.
Mhm.
So we're just saying like, hey, if you have any like unique community events that you know people in, or any particular group that you're a part of, test the waters and see like, are they Republican? Are they registered? And then we're just taking it from there.
Yeah, so Pennsylvania, it's one of the closest things to a purple state that you could say. It's what I mean. That's I think the perfect example of a perfect purple state. We have a Democratic governor, but a Republican treasurer, attorney general, auditor general. We have a Republican senator with McCormick and a Democrat senator with Fetterman. Though you could say Fetterman has surprised a lot of us with his more moderate role since he got elected. Of course, we have Republicans taking the Senate, the state Senate, and then the Democrats taking the state House. Do you think that there's a growing middle in PA that both parties are missing, or is it just like the state just swinging back and forth based on national moods? And how should Republican candidates approach campaigning and messaging going forward?
I mean, it's definitely going to be a swing state for the foreseeable future, in my opinion.
Mhm.
It's just how can we get that 50% plus one
Okay.
over the finish line every time? I mean, you look at the state house. I mean, so Frank, I think his name is Frank Burns, out in uh, somewhere out towards the Pittsburgh suburbs.
Mhm.
He is a very moderate Democrat, but
Mhm.
he just had his gun owners of America, Pennsylvania endorsement revoked because he voted for a gun grabbing bill. So that's going to be huge. That seat alone, if that flips and nothing else flips, that would flip it to Republican by a seat, and we would have the
Mhm.
state house again. I think as far as just talking to voters, just know what area, what part of the state you're in, and what the voter might want to, what matters to that voter.
Yeah.
The central part of the state is very different from the southeast, and the southeast is very different from the southwest. and obviously north south. It's
Mm,
like they say, there's a big T in state,
yeah,
and between it you have Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. So you just have to really know what your community needs and what they want to hear.
yeah.
Could be anything from gun violence, or it could be coal miners, it could be hunters. It just depends what pretty much that community really focuses on.
Yeah. The state house, I feel like it could flip any year now. Well, any election cycle by now. We were so close last year. We had a lot of close races where the Democrat incumbents just pull through just through name recognition, name ID alone. But I feel like, through the right hard work, 2026, it's going to be a little harder, right? Because it's not as popular of an election compared to 2028, though 2026, the gubernatorial election could be popular, but you don't get all the voters compared to 2028. So I think by 2028, I think would be the best chance Republicans could take the state house, which I think would be a very good thing. They got to maybe change some of their messaging in some areas when it comes to maybe marijuana usage and things like that. So that's just what we can expect to see in the state house. I'm sure you could agree. We could be
Oh yeah,
expecting a flip
and
anytime
it,
now.
it could be as simple as, I mean, if from now until 2026, if Shapiro's rating drops,
Yeah.
that could also have a big effect on the state house.
Mhm.
It could be, it's a whole bunch of different things. I do, speaking of the marijuana issue, I am good friends with someone who ran for a seat in Lancaster County here, and his big thing was, he had, I think, Franklin Marshall, that was like part of his district, which is a very liberal university, but he was able to really appeal, have some cross file appeal when he said, like, hey, if people who are pro marijuana typically vote Democrat, but historically they have just locked everyone up for smoking pot.
Yeah.
So, now all of a sudden they see a voting opportunity, and they, all of a sudden, they just want to throw their history behind and say, oh, well, we're okay with it now. We're the ones that
Yeah.
support it. And, if it's, they haven't really done a ton for those voters either, as far as just getting legislation passed.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. And something similar to that, we do have the gubernatorial race next year. And of course, us Republicans wish to fire Governor Shapiro. But, I'll admit, Shapiro, and I'm sure you can admit too, is a very tough person to beat. He's a very tough candidate to beat. We saw
Oh
what
yeah, no,
happened
I
when,
mean, this has been his life
yeah.
for. I mean, he has held every single job pretty much in politics up until this
Mhm.
point.
And if we're going to beat him, though, we're going to need a well-known candidate that, in my opinion, isn't going to be so far right like Mastriano. We talked about the messaging 2022. Mastriano was getting me so aggravated because, like, he was saying, I'm all against abortion, no exceptions. You can't be saying that in a swing state and expect to
Right.
win.
No,
And I
100%.
wish more people could understand that instead of blaming it on rigged elections and this and that. No, the messaging just needs to be better. So I don't think that we should go after Mastriano for 2026. But I'm just curious,
I
do you
agree.
dis
No,
do
I
you?
mean, I've heard a lot. I heard President Trump said the other day that he would prefer Dan Muser to run.
Yeah,
That I obviously Stacey Garrity's name has been talked about. There's plenty of candidates out there for us to choose from, and it's just about who gets the Trump endorsement
yeah.
and who just really runs a good campaign that speaks to Republican voters that can win the primary.
Yeah, well, is there anything additional that you want to touch on, what a candidate should be focusing on? Is there anything that should be going after Shapiro more, or should they be
Yes.
going
So
more against their own?
I think that energy is a big thing. They could
Mm,
go after him for. Obviously the Democrat Party is taking a anti-gas powered, stance on cars, and just say, hey, just remember in the central part of the state, especially, it was the Democrats that put the coal miners out of business. That's why West Virginia has swung so far to the right,
yeah,
and harp on that. And then when you go to the suburbs, just say, you got to play a little bit more moderate and just say, hey, there are exceptions for abortion, stuff like that, and talk about more kitchen table issues.
right. No, I definitely agree. And another thing, I think a big problem with Shapiro is he likes to spend a lot of money, he likes to
Yeah,
tax, but then spend a lot, just throw money at an issue and say,
I
well, I
mean, we
tried.
we we generate a lot of money, but it just goes right out the window as soon as
Yeah.
it hits.
Something that he tweeted the other day, saying that he wants to subsidize, more housing for younger house owners. Not the biggest fan of that. Of course, it makes sense on paper, but why not try to go after just lowering the cost for the houses, lowering lower
Right.
property
Or just like
tax,
building more houses because we
building
need.
more houses. Yep.
So why does it have to be, oh, it has to be this size or this amount of money? If you just build more houses, the price will drop because the
Yeah,
demand. It's
exactly.
pretty
I
simple
definitely agree.
when it comes to that issue, but
Mhm. So shifting to national politics, Donald Trump, he's been in office for about 6 months now, into his second presidency. In my opinion, he has his highs and lows. A lot of good things he's doing, a lot of things that are questionable, and makes me a bit nervous for 2026. If we lose the House, lose the Senate, which I don't think we'll be all right with the Senate, but the House definitely up there. Definitely, I'm scared for some Republicans in their seats. So, what has your opinion been on this administration so far? What would you like to see more of? What would you like to see less of?
I mean, I feel like so Trump 2.0, as I call it, has been much better than I think even 2016, 2017, this
Mhm.
time in this first administration. I feel like he has nominated and put a lot of good people in his cabinet that are very effective. I think that they've been a lot more effective in what they've been doing. I mean, just ICE alone, I mean, getting the number to zero for border crossings in 1 month, I think even if you told voters that, his own voters, they would have been like, I don't think it'll take it that far. But I mean, that's an incredible accomplishment. That the tariffs, I mean, everyone was dooming and glooming about that, but you see the stock market's at an all-time high right now.
Yeah.
He's negotiated better trade deals with the UK, with China, among many other countries, just for simply slapping it back out on the tariffs back on them. I think that has really embarrassed a lot of people, like
Mhm.
especially the Democrats that were saying, "Oh my God, tariffs are the worst thing," and
Yeah.
Rand Paul when he came out with guns blazing against Trump for that one.
Mhm.
It's proven that we kind of needed to do that in order to really get a better trade deal. I mean, we could talk about it till we're blue in the face, but if the other country's not going to sign it off on anything and they're not really
Yeah.
encouraged to do so, you kind of have to fight fire with fire. And that's what he did, and I think he won.
Yeah, you make a lot of good points. With the tariffs, I hope everything he says happens. And because a bad economy is not too friendly to a president. All right. A bad
Right.
economy is not going to help them with midterms. A bad economy, of course, he's not up for re-election, but it could help, it could damage the next candidate for 2028. So he really needs to hope and pray that his economic policy, the economy is doing very good because anything else he does good could just be, you know, overshadowed by the bad economy. The Canada tariffs lately, I feel like we're being a little too harsh to Canada. I feel like we could be a little bit more easier on Canada. China, I think China is a country that we should be tariffing as high as we want. Canada, though, I feel like we should be a little bit more friendly to, just because how important they are to us, a big ally to us. But we'll see what happens with the tariffs. I hope it's doing well. My stocks are doing good, like you mentioned, and we'll just hope that it keeps going. Some other two things that we could talk about is just the big beautiful bill. A lot of controversy in our own party of Republicans. Do you expect to see that get passed? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I definitely think it'll get passed.
Mhm.
I think that, obviously there are some concerns when it does come to national debt and all that. But I mean, I just feel like it's not the issue. I mean, you can't just stop spending on a dime.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just not stop funding things, especially
Mhm.
when they're very important government services. I think it needs to be scaled back pretty rapidly, but not all at once. And I think if we scale back gently, then we can then go from there and probably get a better I don't know what's called like a more balanced budget.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think a big concern among some Republicans is just, we're wanting to lower taxes, but at the same time increase spending with, our national defense and things like that, which, could hurt us. But, hopefully maybe we get something worked out. But I do definitely understand the concerns of Thomas Massey, Rand Paul, and things like that, what people call rhinos, which, I'm not the person to jump on them right away. I like to hear them out, and I can definitely hear their points, but there's also points on this side and that side. So you just got to understand both sides. Big news last past couple of weeks was the Iran bombing. I was actually a fan of it. I was glad we did it. I'm just curious if you have the same opinion as me and anything else to add on that.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been seeing a lot of like, oh, it's America first, not Israel first tweets from some right wing accounts, and
Yeah.
I just feel like America first, when you say that, it also means that it has to be America safe. And America first, if someone threatens us,
Yeah.
that would require a response, which is an America first policy.
Yeah.
We can't take lightly to threats. If Iran is saying, they want to go after us and they have a plan to do so, and we're gonna, it's gonna come sooner or later, and the whole world's gonna be shocked to see what the response is gonna be. Well,
Yeah.
we need to not wait and find out what it's gonna be. I mean, if we have the opportunity to clear their airspace and just go in, drop 3 bombs, blow up their nuclear facility, and just get out without putting a single boot on the ground, that's
Yeah.
a huge win.
It definitely is. I definitely agree. And, people are concerned about a regime change. We're not worried about that at all. If that happens, that's great. But of course,
Right.
Trump's not worried
It's
about that
also
right
not
now.
we're not going to occupy the country because of it.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and like you said, no boots on the ground, just sending in a B-2 bomber, the best technology we have in the military, sending it in, get out, and it's great. And I think a lot more people are starting to come around to that idea now. Like, all right, we're actually okay with it. We originally had a ceasefire between Iran and Israel. Didn't work out too well. I hope we get another one, and that'll be a huge win for Trump and Republicans. So I hope that's to go forward. So Keith, I just any more questions before I had for you before we close out? Just anything you're working on for the rest of the year? Anything with local politics? We have, not too many big elections, but they're so important. People need to know that with local politics for borough council, mayor, things like that. Anything you're working on? Anything you want to shout out when it comes to
Yeah,
local
I
politics?
mean, obviously we have a chance to to really write history here. I mean, we've only in Pennsylvania state history, we've only not retained one judge statewide
Hmm.
ever. So we have a chance to do five this year. We have three Supreme Court justices, all Democrat, up for retention, and there's one, I believe, on the Superior Court and Commonwealth that are
Yeah.
up for retention. So we could fire five Democrat judges in 1 year. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think that's ever been done. Plus, not only that, when you look down ballot, you have school board races.
Yeah.
And a lot of those school board races we lost in 2023 by 50, 100, 150 votes. I mean,
Mhm.
it was just a little lack of turnout that really just killed our down ballot.
Yeah.
Uh, when you break down these local year elections, you could 2, 3 votes per precinct is what we need
Yeah.
more. I mean, it's really that simple. It's really as simple as just like, hey, asking your neighbor, did you vote today?
Hmm.
That if everyone does that in their precinct, that could have a huge effect.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we talk about grassroots, I mean, this is the perfect example of why grassroots is so important. Candidates who don't have a lot of money. I'm running for Selinsgrove Borough Council. I spent maybe 200 some dollars on my race. A big part of it was trying to get the Democrat write-in vote because I think it's very important for the Borough Council to try to get both sides. And I was very grateful to get the Democrat write-in vote as well. Standing outside the polling, just handing out stuff, hey, please vote for me. And I got on the Democrat ballot, so I'll be cross-ticketed in November. And that's how just perfect example of grassroots.
Yeah. Oh
And
no, that's great, and that's what you need to win.
yeah, so I just want to say thank you, Keith, for of course joining me today. I haven't done an interview in a while, but wanted to get you on, just talk some politics, talk some Pennsylvania politics, and some voter registration. A lot of big things are coming for Republicans in Pennsylvania. We're very excited, and I appreciate you just coming on today.
Oh yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me on, and good luck with your borough race.
Yeah, thank you. Peace,
Thank you.
everybody.